This is the Steele Report.
This week on the Steele Report, we're going to examine a critical concern impacting so many families here in the Cedar Valley. And our program begins right now.
Now from KWWL, this is the Steele Report.
Today, I welcome 5 guests to the Steele Report to talk about raising awareness of dementia in its various forms and its huge impact on individuals, their families, and caregivers. For this program, we're going to split the panel as we begin the show, but right now I want to introduce to you all 5 of my special guests for this week's program. Well, first of all, I want to welcome back to the program Kevin Dill. Kevin is the recently retired Executive Director of the Black Hawk County Veterans Affairs Office, and one of the reasons that Kevin had to retire early was because of his health situation. As many of you know, he's been diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, so we're going to talk about that right here in just a few minutes. Next, please welcome Dr. Elaine Ashbaugh. Dr. Ashbaugh is a professor of applied human sciences at the University of Northern Iowa in UNI's very prestigious gerontology department. And also, she is UNI's NCAA faculty athletics representative. And on a personal note, Elaine and I also serve on the UNI Sports Hall of Fame selection committee. We're not actually in the Hall of Fame, are we? But
not at all.
We are on the selection committee, so that's always a treat, too. Next on the program today, please welcome Sloan Alberhaski, and Sloan is with the Alzheimer's Association. In fact, one of their state offices is located in Waterloo, and she's with that office. She is a program specialist for the Alzheimer's Association. In fact, one of their new additions here recently, just in the past few months. Next, please welcome to our show today Marie Kafta. She is a caregiver specialist with the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, having moved just recently over to West 9th Street in Waterloo. So welcome to the program. And UNI student Megan Cooker leads the Waterloo Dementia Friendly Action Team as the Dementia Friendly Community Coordinator for the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging. Now, by the way, she has 1 semester left at UNI and is double majoring in social work and long-term care administration. So we welcome Megan to the program here today as well. What's the thing you want people to know most about this disease and how it affects individuals, families, and the caregivers?
Yeah. One of the first things that I would mention is that Alzheimer's and dementia are 2 different terms, and just to clarify that, dementia is the bigger picture.
Okay.
So when we talk about dementia, we are talking about Alzheimer's, but we're also talking about dozens of other diseases that fall under the dementia umbrella, and Kevin can speak to that, I'm sure, in a little bit. But dementia is not just about memory. That's one thing I think people are missing. It's about all sorts of cognitive changes. It can be personality changes. It can be mood changes, changes in how you perceive the world, sensory, perceptual issues. So I think we define dementia just as memory loss, and that's really just a small part of what goes on with dementia. Another thing that I think people are missing is that most people who have dementia live in our community. They don't live in nursing homes. They don't live in memory care communities. They are at the grocery store. They're at the gym. They're out in the community living their lives. And if we can be as supportive as possible for those individuals, they can continue to stay in the community living the best possible quality of life for as long as they can.
One thing people always ask me is, what causes it? What's the research show?
Well, what we're finding is that, dementia it's actually not a disease, it's a set of symptoms. So, I named some of the symptoms earlier of dementia, and the next question is what is causing those symptoms? So it might be Alzheimer's disease, it might be Lewy body dementia, it might be frontal temporal degeneration. So there are multiple causes. So in terms of those specific diseases that cause dementia, some of them we know what the risk factors are. So I can't give you one thing that I'm going to say, hey, this is how you prevent Alzheimer's. Do this one thing and you're not going to get Alzheimer's. However, we do know that lifestyle and genetics both play a role in the development of a disease like Alzheimer's.
So Elaine, you mentioned Lewy body, and that's what Kevin has. And what are some of the symptoms? And Kevin, what were your first symptoms? And would that be consistent with other patients, do you think?
Sure. In the beginning, my staff at the VA office started to notice that I was just forgetting how to do the job I did, and most people consider me an expert at it here in the state of Iowa. I was forgetting names and faces of people. I didn't recognize people that I saw every day. I started to hallucinate. I started first to see insects and
Wow.
small animals running around that were real to me. And then I was, sometimes I couldn't remember how to drive my truck home.
Wow.
I didn't understand that concept. And then I started to lose the concept of time, where I would come in the morning and I could be there 12 hours and the girls would say, it's time to go home. And for me, I'd only been there 5 minutes, but I've been there 12 hours.
Wow.
I didn't understand. Or sometimes there was times where I thought the girls were holding me hostage and wouldn't let me leave. And so we decided to go to the doctor, and they ran a PET scan, some testing at the University of Iowa, and with the testing and the PET scan, they diagnosed me with dementia with Lewy body.
Wow.
It's a lot more than memory loss. So he did mention hallucinations and potentially delusions. And unfortunately, that's not uncommon. I also think one of the things we miss about this, we talk about the caregiver and how hard it is for the family, and it absolutely is. But sometimes I think we don't do a great job of thinking about how scary it is to live in a world that doesn't make sense. So when we have someone with dementia who, might be labeled in a nursing home as, I quote, a behavioral issue, that's someone who's really scared by their surroundings, because the world doesn't make sense. And for any of us, when we're in a world that doesn't make sense, we tend to become maybe verbally aggressive or uncooperative. And I think that's really problematic, the way we conceptualize that.
Yeah, scary for sure. Now, does the patient realize this, or does someone have to point it out to them?
So sometimes we will have someone with dementia who is very aware of their symptoms. So Kevin is a tremendous asset to me, and people like Kevin are an asset to me because they can tell me what it's like to have dementia. I have other people who don't have the awareness to be able to explain that, and that's why I'm really grateful for people like Kevin for a few reasons. But for one, just being able to use his voice for the people who have dementia who maybe aren't able to do that.
What is the actual age? Does it affect everybody, or?
It can potentially impact everyone. The youngest person I know personally was diagnosed at the age of 38 with younger onset Alzheimer's. Your risk does go up as you age, but we do have about 10% roughly of individuals with dementia who are diagnosed under the age of 65.
I don't want to go in a nursing home, Ron. So I made the decision, like I told the girls here at the meeting, I made the decision myself that I am going to trust in the heart of the people of Waterloo and Cedar Falls, that I tell the doctor that my support team is 120,000 people. Because all of Waterloo and Cedar Falls, I'm counting on them to be my support team, because I don't want to go into a nursing home.
Well, I've only met Kevin since he has been diagnosed with dementia, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting is, we had a committee meeting and we had invited Kevin to be part of the committee, and on the day our committee met, we all sat around the table, and I had never met Kevin before, and it wasn't until we went around and introduced ourselves that he said that he was someone who was living with dementia. And that's another misconception, I think, is that there are people who are living with dementia who are still active members of society, who are out there making a difference, who are living their lives. And I think Kevin is a great example of that. And I think a lot of people may not realize dementia is progressive and it is fatal. So, when we're talking about a disease like Lewy body dementia or Alzheimer's, these are unpredictable diseases. But typically on average, for example, someone with Alzheimer's might live about 6 to 8 years after diagnosis. And what we want to do is allow them to live those 6 to 8 years doing what they want to do. And not in a nursing home, like Kevin says. That's really, I don't know how many people who say, I can't wait to get admitted to a nursing home. But allowing those people to live in the community and still continue to make a difference, which is what he's absolutely doing.
And to jump on that that's what the doctors told me, 6 to 8 years, and I was diagnosed pretty young. And so, but some have lived 20 years, and I want to go to that 20. And I think the only way to get to that 20 is to rely on the heart of the people in this community to help me get to that point.
So Elaine, what do you want people to know about what you're doing in the gerontology department at UNI, because you're doing some really remarkable things.
Yeah, I'm super excited about where our gerontology program is at. We are small, but we are mighty. It is, to be honest, it is difficult to sell 18 to 22-year-olds on a career in aging because they're never going to get old. It's never going to impact them. But with the baby boom generation, it's just an incredible, exciting field to get into right now. One of the things that we're working toward right now is developing what I'm calling at this point a dementia simulation lab, where we would have a place where people could go and we would have it set up so they could simulate what it might be like to actually have dementia. And I've done this, and I know my students have done this in other settings, and it really is life-changing to understand just a tiny, tiny glimpse of what Kevin might be going through on those days when he's having a bad day and he gets up and he's lost in his own home. So we're looking to do a program like that where people from the community can come in and experience that and be educated to be more aware of how we can set up our community to be more supportive for people who might have these types of cognitive changes. And I feel like there are a lot of ways that we can make the world a little bit easier for people living with dementia if we're just aware of what dementia is and some of those very simple changes that we can make.
Okay, we're going to take a break here on the Steele Report. Remember, all our programs are online on kwwl.com. We'll continue our program here in just a moment. So welcome back to this week's edition of the Steele Report, as we're talking about raising awareness in the Cedar Valley and all across Northeast Iowa about Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and we also want to point out that Waterloo is already the first dementia-friendly city in the state of Iowa. So Anne Marie, let me ask you, I know Mayor Hart contacted your boss, Donna Harvey, to get this thing going. How did that all come about? What are you doing?
Yes, he did. Well, the reason that the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging chose to be the champion organization for this project is because how well it aligns with our mission for the agency. Our mission is to assist people aging in the community with their independence and their dignity. And it's just a natural complement to all the services that we provide in the area.
Well, that's fantastic. So the Alzheimer's Association, obviously a key component in all of this with the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging. So working together, that must work out pretty good, Sloan, for both of you, yeah?
It really does, and for us it's just so great to be a part of the action team because so many people feel like they can't come into the Alzheimer's Association if they aren't actually diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So this is a really great opportunity for us to let people know that we are here for all types of dementia, and we have really great community resources. We have a number of volunteers that lead support groups. We lead community education programs as well. So we just want people to know that we support them no matter where they are at in their journey, and they can absolutely come into our office for a resource.
And Megan, you must be very busy because you're still a UNI student, but you're one of the leaders of this dementia action team here locally. So how did you get involved personally? Is that part of your major at UNI?
Yeah, so I'm a gerontology major at UNI, and Dr. Ashbaugh is one of my professors. So she's really passionate about helping people with dementia and raising awareness. So that's kind of where this started. And then this summer we had a kickoff for the dementia-friendly community movement, and it was in July at UNI, and it was called UNI Gerontology, Building a Dementia-Friendly Community. And so I got to help coordinate that conference, and then from there got involved with leading the action team. So
what's the general reaction, do you think?
I think people are really open to the idea. I think that it's so hard now to find somebody or talk to somebody that hasn't been affected by dementia. I know that my family's been personally affected, so whether or not you have a close member of your family that has a diagnosis or you know somebody, I think that we can all agree that there are a large number of people in this community that are affected and, like Kevin said before, just want to feel supported.
Megan, you wanted to add to that,
Yeah, so there are some people out there in the community who might not be directly impacted by dementia, but what our goal of dementia-friendly communities is that we want everyone to be aware, so that way when there are people with dementia who are already living in the community and they're still interacting, they're still going to the grocery store, to the gym, they will know how to best serve someone with dementia. So it's important, even if someone isn't directly impacted, to still be informed so they can provide a safe and respectful environment for people with dementia.
What do you find as a caregiver specialist, the burden that families are placed under?
I just think with this dementia-friendly action movement that Waterloo has, that we are able to provide the caregivers as well as the care recipients with services out in the community. They have their good days and they have their bad days with their cognitive ability. And I think that just getting the awareness out in the community that individuals might be able to look at someone that they may not think has dementia, but they might just be acting a little bit confused, and be able to help them get what they need in the community.
So when families come into us, we're able to give them information and referrals. So a lot of people receive a diagnosis and they just don't know where to go next. They have no idea what their next step should be. And so we have a lot of people come in, we're able to give them first and foremost information on their diagnosis, because I always tell people, knowledge is power. You want to feel confident in what's going on. So we're able to provide that information for them. We are also able to help with care consultations. And if they're looking for that extra support, I always refer them to our support groups. If they're looking to get more involved, we have volunteer opportunities. So we do have a lot of great resources in our office alone, but also in the community. I think the Cedar Valley has so many great organizations that a lot of communities are not blessed with. And so having the Alzheimer's Association, having Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, having this dementia-friendly movement, I think this is so great for the residents in our community. And we just want them to walk through our doors so we can help equip them further.
And like with HIPAA, I assume a lot of your information, all of it would be confidential, so
Correct.
families wouldn't have to worry about any kind of embarrassment, for example, or people knowing about their situation. But what about people who they're seeing their disease progress, and what are they telling you about what are they going through, and how do they deal with it, and what do you tell them?
The main thing that I see in my position at NEI 3A is the caregivers, they want to keep the individuals, their loved ones, in the home. And their loved ones also want to stay in their home.
Right.
So what we do is just help the individuals, provide that care, provide them with caregiver support through support groups. We also are offering powerful tools for caregivers classes. And then we also provide some in-home respite care funding for the caregiver if they need to leave to go to the doctors, to run their errands, and kind of a stress reliever for them as well.
So have all three of you, Sloan, you mentioned that you were impacted directly. I know I have been directly impacted by Alzheimer's. Both of you have seen the same thing, or is it something new to you?
Go ahead.
So I have no family members or friends that have had dementia, but I have worked in a lot of nursing homes, and just being in this major, I just see how many people are directly impacted by it. And then just knowing people like Kevin, who I just met Kevin, but I know there are a lot of people who have dementia in our community that I want to be able to best interact with and know and be confident in my interactions with them. So, yeah.
Right.
I've had several family members that have either been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another type of dementia, and just learning more about the disease and how to help them to stay in the community and be safe and to be happy is really rewarding.
What's the most important thing you want people to take away from the information we're trying to provide on the program here today? Anne-Marie?
Just that more and more people in the community are living in the community with dementia. They aren't in nursing homes. They're in their homes. They are still driving. They are still going to the library. They are still going to the gym, coffee shops, Walmart, everything. They're still living with dementia in the community. So just learning how to support them within the community.
And Sloan, you wanted to add?
I think that the thing I want people to take away from all of this is that they're not alone. I think it's so easy for people to feel, because this is a personal disease, it's progressive, it can be devastating, it's emotional. You can have moments where you just feel so alone, and you're not alone. There are great organizations in the community that can help you. There are people that we can connect you with. So just know that you're supported, and this action movement is only going to help our community grow stronger in that.
Okay. So Megan, let me ask you, Mayor Hart contacted Donna Harvey. You got the Northeast Iowa or the Waterloo Dementia Friendly Action Team and the designation of that for the city of Waterloo. So How big is your committee? How big is your action team? What's your next step?
Yeah, so we have an action team right now of about 12 people.
Okay.
And it's a mix of people, and that's what we want. We want people from all sectors of the community to be able to be a part of this and give input. And also, the more people we have, the more perspective we have, the more ways we can implement our next steps into the community. So right now, we are just trying to implement our next steps. So we're working on reaching out to some local banks and hospitals, and just how we can help them better understand dementia, how we can train their employees and staff. So those are kind of our next steps, but we also really just want to get the word out, and we are always open to having more people on our action team to help us out with it. So
we've given you some addresses, contact information throughout the program here, but Megan, you said you also have a Facebook page started and everything?
Yep, so our Facebook page is Dementia Friendly Waterloo, and so if you want to go give that a like, we're going to be posting the next steps we're taking and also ways to get involved in this movement. So I'd encourage you to check that out.
Well, fantastic. Okay, as always, I have to take one more break here on the Steele Report for this week. All our shows, again, are on kwwo.com. We're going to come right back here in just a moment to wrap things up for this week. Kevin, you made an interesting point, because when you first were diagnosed, you pretty much felt alone, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's what was so important about this committee is when I first got diagnosed, there was nowhere to go, and I sat home one day and thought about how it was going to progress and what was going to happen to me, and I just went out to my garage, Ron, and I got in my truck and I turned it on, and the garage door was up and the truck was running, and I just took my garage door opener, and for an hour and a half I tried to convince myself, just push the button and shut the garage door, and in about 20 minutes just go to sleep and it'll all be over. And I sat there for an hour and a half trying to convince myself, and I just finally put it down and said, you know what, I'm going to trust in the heart of this community that they're going to help me to get through this.
Well, I appreciate you very much for sharing that personal story.
And I'm not the only one.
We're so grateful Kevin did not go through with that. What's your message to people who are going through, or family members who may see that tendency? Is there any way to just get out in front of that, so to speak?
Yeah, we got to do a better job in the medical profession and as a community at reaching out to people like Kevin after diagnosis to tell them that there is support available and that he's not alone. There is life to be lived after a diagnosis, but many times the medical profession is going to tell you, hey, here's your diagnosis, you got Lewy body, come back in 6 months and we'll see how far you've progressed, and that's not good enough.
The thing is, we need to emphasize on the program here today, there is help available. In fact, you even have a helpline or a call line that people can call if they're having trouble or have questions, right?
We do. We have a 24/7 helpline that's staffed through the Alzheimer's Association, and just because it's staffed by the Alzheimer's Association, it does not mean that it's only for people with Alzheimer's. It is for people with all types of dementia. It is for people that have a diagnosis, are a caregiver, may be concerned about somebody in the community, and you can call that helpline and get information and referral. They will even talk you through situations. I know that we have had caregivers call when their loved one goes through a change. Maybe it's the first time that they don't recognize them, and they just have no idea in that moment what to do. And our helpline has stayed on with those caregivers before and given them dialogue and walked them through those situations, and they're able to get through that day. So it's a really great resource, and it's at the bottom of the screen. So if you ever need somebody to reach out to and we are not in our office or you're not able to get a hold of your physician, the helpline is there for you.
And Dr. Ashbaugh, I want to go back to you one more time, because you made a great point about the aggression that people may see in their patient. It's not really that they're becoming violent. Something's happening as far as the fear factor, right?
Right. I actually heard a story last night that has stuck with me, and I've been thinking about it actually all day. A woman told me that her mom was in a nursing home, and every time her mom was asked to go down to the shower to bathe, she thought she was in Auschwitz, and those were the showers of the death chambers. And she was labeled a behavior problem because she didn't want to shower, and that was problematic for the staff. And to me, to think about how terrified she was in that situation and how much she fought. One of the things we're missing here is when we see anger and aggression, we see someone who's scared, because the world doesn't make sense and we don't know what all these people are trying to do to us. And I think that's one of the things we need to be more empathetic about.
All right, well, thanks to all of you. I really appreciate it. This is 5 of your members of the Waterloo Dementia Friendly Action Team raising awareness about dementia. We really appreciate that. Hope you'll contact some of the numbers and some of the contact information that we've had on the program here today. That's it for this week on the Steele Report. We'll be back